All right, let's just dive right in. What is consciousness? I mean, it feels like it should be a simple question, right? You're experiencing it right now. But it turns out to be one of the deepest, most fascinating mysteries in all of science and philosophy. So the big question is it something you have, or is it just something you do?
Yeah, let's start right there. I mean, really think about it for a second. All that stuff going on in your head, your awareness, your private thoughts, that feeling of being, well, you. Is that a distinct thing just sitting in your head? Or is it something else entirely? Maybe, more like a process or a property. This single question, it's at the very heart of the entire puzzle. Okay, so to even begin to untangle that, we've got to look at the words we use. It's kind of funny, but the entire mystery really kicks off with this fundamental split in our language. Are we talking about consciousness, the noun, or are we talking about being conscious, the adjective?
And believe it or not, this simple grammatical choice changes, well, everything. Just think about it for a sec. When we say consciousness, it sounds like a real, concrete object, something we could find and study, right? But when we say a person is conscious, it's just describing a quality they have. That one little distinction, that's the battleground for this entire debate. It's huge.
So for centuries, a lot of the world's greatest thinkers, they leaned heavily towards consciousness being a thing, an actual thing. And this kicked off this huge philosophical hunt for the entity that actually holds our consciousness, the self. And let me tell you, this hunt was led by some absolute giants of philosophy. We're talking about the 17th and 18th centuries here with thinkers like René Descartes, John Locke, and Immanuel Kant. These guys laid the groundwork for how we still think about the conscious mind today. It's incredible. Their core idea, it was something called substance dualism. Now, you've probably heard of this, maybe as the ghost in the machine. It's basically the theory that our physical body is separate from a non-physical mind or self. And it's inside that non-physical self that consciousness is supposed to live. René Descartes was a total game changer here. He was the one who argued that the defining feature of the mind, of thought itself, is its ability to be aware of itself. All of a sudden, self-awareness became the absolute centerpiece of the entire concept. Everything revolved around it. Then John Locke comes along and takes this a step further. He basically argued that what makes you a person is that very ability to see yourself as yourself, across time. So for Locke, your personal identity is completely and totally tied to this continuous thread of self-consciousness. And then Immanuel Kant just tied it all together so brilliantly. He proposed that every single one of our experiences, everything we see, hear, feel, it's all unified by a single perspective. It's like this constant background hum of I think that organizes all the chaos into a coherent reality for one single conscious self. But what if this whole thing, this entire centuries-long search for a self, what if it was all based on a simple mistake, just a trick of our own language? Well, that is the core of the modern philosophical rebuttal. Yeah, modern philosophy has a key concept for this. It's called abstract reification. Now, I know, it's a fancy term, but it's for a really common error. Taking an abstract idea or a process and treating it like it's a real, concrete object. And a lot of philosophers today argue this is exactly what we've done with consciousness. We've accidentally turned a process into a thing. So, from this point of view, most contemporary philosophers, they just don't see consciousness as one single unified thing. Nope. Instead, they see it as a useful umbrella term, a label that covers lots and lots of different mental phenomena, things like awareness, sensation, attention, reflection, the whole shebang. But, and this is where the story gets really fascinating, while the philosophers were all debating the language, scientists started jumping into the fray, and they started trying to model consciousness as something real, something physical, and maybe, just maybe, something we can actually measure. And they are coming up with some truly mind-bending ideas. Seriously, 3 of the leading categories of models today propose that consciousness could be a unique state of matter, or maybe a super complex information system, or even a special kind of self-representing structure inside the brain. Okay, you're going to want to get ready for this one because it's wild. Coming straight from the world of mathematical physics is the hypothesis that consciousness isn't an experience, but a literal state of matter. They even gave it a name, perceptonium.
The idea is, just like water can be a solid, a liquid, or a gas, maybe arrangements of particles can enter a conscious state that has totally unique information processing abilities. How crazy is that? All right, another really powerful approach treats consciousness like you're building something. You start with the smallest possible brick, what they call an atom of awareness. Just think of it as a single connection between brain cells firing. Then you start grouping those bricks together into walls, and that creates a larger information state. And then when that whole structure becomes complex and autonomous enough to just run itself, boom, you get what's called informational consciousness. Then there's the third big view. This one suggests that consciousness is what happens when a mental state also includes a representation of itself. The best analogy is a security camera that not only films the room, but also has that little screen in the corner showing itself filming. It's that process of self-monitoring that creates this implicit, kind of built-in self-awareness. So you can really see the different angles of attack here, can't you? You've got physics proposing a whole new state of matter. You've got information theory describing a functional architecture. And you have philosophy of mind focusing on the actual mechanics of self-awareness. We're talking three very different paths, all trying to solve the exact same mystery. So where does all this leave us? Well, it leaves us right in the middle of this really fascinating tension between the old philosophical ideas and these brand new scientific models. And let me tell you, this debate is very much alive and kicking. And this really is the core conflict. On one side, you have that historical view of consciousness as a non-physical ghost, right? A separate mind or self. And on the other side, you've got these bold new models trying to define it as a physical machine, whether that's a state of matter, a complex system, or a specific function of the brain. And this, right here, is the crucial takeaway. For the longest time, the idea that consciousness is a thing was pretty much dismissed as an old-fashioned philosophical error. But now, science is bringing that idea roaring back. Not as a ghost, though, but as a complex physical system that we can actually investigate. That's a huge shift. Which, of course, brings us right back to our original, massive question. After all of this, what do you think consciousness is? Is it that non-physical ghost that philosophers hunted for centuries? Is it just a convenient word, a label for a property of our minds? Or could it be something as fundamental as the next state of matter, just sitting there, waiting to be discovered?